Greetings, everyone. It's 9:11 p.m., 10/10/2025 on this artificial Gregorian timeline. You know, I've discovered quite a coincidence, if you believe in those, on how and why there were so many clues in movies and going all the way back to Supertramp with the record album with the 9/11 backwards over the Twin Towers looking out an airplane window. There's just piles and piles of clues involving 9/11 and, which pretty much all point to there was knowledge that this was going to happen beforehand, well in advance. In fact, if we look at how long ago Supertramp made that album and the hints in all the many movies, it's hard to keep up with the animated cartoons and movies, Back to the Future. It really it's quite telling. It's just going to be a black screen. I'm really not going to put anything up for this video. This is just well, you know what? I think I will. I want to do it like this. And here's what I'll do. I'm just going to point you back to the last live feed that I just made. Okay. And get that share screen on. And we're just pointing back to the video here that also has the Twin Towers. And guys and gals, this is one that really should have you scratching your head, because if you run cal9 1752 on a Unix system, you'll see 11 missing days in September. And what this all goes back to is the 11 days that were erased in 1752 when the British Crown went from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar. And this is going to start you on your journey in what's called temporal jurisdiction. Temporal jurisdiction is the overlay over all other jurisdictions. Of course, it started out with Douglas Joseph sharing with me the file registration date on the birth certificate. That is the creation date of the legal name that every single one of you are haunted by, hunted for, burdened by. And I say that kind of in respect to those that, oh no, I control it, It should have never existed in our lives. And this is a prime example of why it shouldn't have existed in our lives. Because all the harm, injury, loss, property theft, and wealth stealing that have gone on and surrounded around the burden that has caused more people than it's ever helped. So for those that, I'm a secured party creditor, I'm this, I'm that, it's my tool, yada, yada, yada. are just justifying the existence of something that, in my humble opinion, should have never existed in our lives. Just to make that very clear. And now looking at how the Gregorian is now encoded into the internet and all the devices that you use, the phone in your hand that you might be watching this video on, or your desktop, your operating systems. The military was responsible for plugging that in. Basically, we're moving from paper to code, and the Gregorian overlay, which is called temporal jurisdiction. And all I can tell you is start researching, start looking into this. Most of all, I am pretty darn sure that what I've discovered from the file registration date being shared with me and that little voice of truth saying to me when I was looking at the birth certificate shortly after this file registration date was pointed out to me, and the little voice of truth said, now realize both dates are a fiction, which started me down that deeper down the rabbit hole. And where it hit bottom was temporal jurisdiction, the Gregorian calendar versus the 1328 plus 1, which is encoded on the back of a dollar bill, which the founders encoded the 1328 plus 1 on the back of the money. It's encoded there. What do I mean by that? I'll put that in the comment section if it'll fit. I'm pretty sure it will when I'm done with this live. But what went on here when they went from analog to digital, when the internet was being introduced in the 70s, was the people that were involved in that knew about what was going on from 1752 and the 11 missing days in September. And that's the part, you just can't make this stuff up. 11 days in September. Maybe I'm just reaching, but I think the correlation is quite shocking, and it really goes to prove how they knew what was coming, what 9/11 was in its very well planned execution, and what went on in 2001 as an epoch, a Cal epoch, which is the Gregorian calendar, by the way, a Unix Epoch. The Unix Epoch is the Gregorian calendar, that reformed calendar of the papal bull of Gregory the 13th, the Pope Gregory the 13th, and the Vatican overlay. And, you know, when we look at what is going on in the world today, and we see that the wealthier are just getting incredibly wealthy. In fact, they've just pulled another one by manipulating the markets with tariffs on, tariffs off. A lot of people just got wrecked. And, you know, it's usually those that don't have enough to cover the margin for that much of a drop in the market get wrecked. You know, in relation to people running, you know, shorts or longs, long position. Obviously, today was not the place to be. I want to get off track on anything here. Tell me what you see. I'm not doing this. I'm not a monetized channel. I do this because what we're going to leave for the future generations, for our offspring, for our sons and daughters, grandsons and granddaughters, really is what's important for someone like myself. And when I run across something that is pointing at why there were those that knew what was going to happen 9/11 of 2001, because they had to do another reset of the timing. And the games that are being played with people's lives right now and livelihoods. This plays into the convid. Everything plays together in this. It just like brings it all together. Why they're pushing for the digital IDs, why the biodigital convergence, what they're spraying in the skies, everything comes together. And the more people that are looking at this, the more people that are researching this. Temporal jurisdiction is a very serious deal. And it's not just a conspiracy theory, it's the reality of the universal timekeeping, as you see up here on the screen. But this really, really is the hardest evidence, I think, that's going to be out here for people to look at and see, wow, okay, 11 missing days in September, which goes back to 1752, which was a reset that had to happen in 2001. And these are the people that were involved in creating the internet and the military. The military has been served with this information, by the way. The generals are all getting the memo here. And where this is going to go, I couldn't tell you. What are they going to answer? What are they going to say? This is pretty overwhelming evidence that proves why there are always so many in the background that knew what was going to happen on 9/11/2001, in my humble opinion. Let me know what you think in the comment section, and share this out so we can get as many eyes on as possible. As everybody's distracted by the Charlie Kirk deal, it's just consumed everything and everyone's attention pretty much. And if you're a 9/11 architect, in 9/11 architectures for 9/11, if you are a family member, or you anyone that's concerned with what happened on 9/11/2001, you would want to share this with them so that they can look at this. And everyone should be looking at this, because this is pretty crazy stuff to see. And the information I'm sharing it with is the world right now. And, tell me if I'm missing something here. 11 missing days in September. Again, you just can't make this stuff up. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Let me know what you think.